Hey, how y'all doing on this fine Saturday morning? Let's get to reviewing. I finally bought myself a saber from Vire Sabers, and I did a custom build-a-saber. And first things first, let's go through the parts. What did we get? Well, I have the gold thumb screws, so I ordered that. The pommel is called the Sentinel pommel. It's a D-ring Sentinel pommel. I also, and this is the part I had to wait for because it was on back order. This is the Rook Grip. And then we also have the Guardian switch section, which is black. That's the black version. I'm not sure. I think the other version is called Frosted. And I went with the Padawan Emitter, which you may recognize. This is the same emitter section that you can find on the Crimson Dawn Banshee. And the wonderful thing about this emitter is, you can have the two thumb screws to secure the 1-inch blade in place, but it also has little windows on the side. And I imagine that these windows, I can see that they're threaded, so they can work as ancillary blade retention screws. And of course, when you buy one of these hilts, you have the option to get a blade or to not get a blade. I opted to not get a blade, so I received it in this little tiny box. If you saw my unboxing video, it was a pretty neat little package there. The other thing I did was I upgraded the sound to the, it's called the Deluxe 9. So it has the 9 sound fonts, and it has some of the functions, which I'll go through all the functions, operate a little bit differently on this hilt than it does on the standard hilt that comes with 6 sound fonts. And last but not least, when you order and you spend more than $100, the shipping is free. And the shipping was very fast. And I had no issues with the service that I received from Vire Sabers. They did a really good job. The thing is really, I mean, obviously they got everything right. There was nothing off. Everything functions properly. The quality is there. And we'll get to the rest of that in a few minutes. And as far as the total, once everything was put together and tax was applied, I think it was tax, came to just shy of $110 for this hilt. And let me put my laptop away because that's what I was using to refer to this, to get the information. You don't think I can remember all this stuff. I'm not that kind of guy. So anyway, I'm calling this sort of my light, or my Dark Graflex Lite, because it's lighter than a standard Graflex. It's much slimmer and trim than a standard Graflex, but has a lot of the cues of a standard Graflex. So as you can see, we have a D-ring. One of the unfortunate side effects of having a pommel that's shaped like this with a D-ring on it is the sound isn't the loudest saber. It doesn't really, the sound doesn't resonate very well in this chamber, so it gets a little bit truncated. The speaker's a bit upgraded. I'm actually going to remove the pommel in just a second and show you what the chassis looks like. But let's just go through the aesthetics here. One of the things I like about the grip section, the Rook, is it has kind of the reverse of what you would find on a standard Graflex. A standard Graflex is more or less aluminum colored, essentially silver, with the grip sections, which are black. So the Rook is kind of a reverse of that. It's instead of the grip sections being black, there's silver. And then you have black anodizing between them, which is kind of consistent with the rest of the hilt, which makes it kind of look like an anti-Graflex, as it were. The only issue is the edges on the The grip sections, they're a little bit not sharp enough to actually hurt yourself, but they are a bit, you can hear that. It kind of grinds into your hand a little bit. So gloves will probably be recommended when using this saber with this particular grip. I've been kind of toying with the idea of ordering another grip for this, but I think I'm just going to keep it and live with it. I have enough sabers where it's not really an issue. So I'm going to keep this as you see it here. So you have your switch section, which is pretty standard fare for the LGT type of sabers, or wherever this originated from. There are other companies that distribute LGT, and then there's obviously a lot of companies currently that are utilizing this format of interchangeability, because that's the general real allure of this, other than the fact that it comes loaded with features, is that you can mix and match the parts. You can get a saber from Crimson Dawn, you can get a saber from Rebel Sabers, you can get something from Custom Dark Wolf Sabers, or a number of different other companies, and you can mix and match all these parts. All the threading is kind of the same, and they've gotten to the point where the chassis and the threading and the quality is there, that you don't have to worry about any kind of real quality issues. Everything just kind of intermingles and mixes and matches with ease, and it's really kind of turning into a wonderful system. Not only that, but the chassis. I'm digressing here, but the chassis allows for replacement of different chassis systems. I mean, they've gotten in. This has you have the 6 font variant, the 9 font upgrade variant, which has different features. And then it goes all the way to like economy NeoPixel, like my Osprey, all the way up to Profi boards now. And you can actually swap out these chassis. As far as I know, I haven't done it yet. I've been inclined to maybe order just a Profi chassis and throw it into one of the Crimson Dawn sabers that I have that I really love, just to give that a try, rather than buying a whole, a different saber. So that's something I'm gonna do at some point. And so you have these little screws that kind of hold that into place, and then the black backlit switch and the recharge port right there. And you can see all the kind of grip section, all the choke points and grooves and everything on the emitter. Has an S-type emitter, very thick material. The blade is in here very securely. These thumb screws work wonderfully. And basically the impetus for me ordering this saber was because Darth Rage, he had ordered a mystery box, and the mystery box came with this almost exact same setup. I don't recall if the soundboard was the same. I think the colors of the thumb screws were different, and he may only have received one thumb screw. I'm not too certain. But his saber was so attractive that I decided I wanted to get one. And so I commented in on his page, and the owner of Vire Sabers, or at least one of the associates, I'm not exactly sure what the person's name was, told me everything that you were seeing here. And I messaged him, and eventually I was able to order what you see here, and I'm very, very happy with it. So before we turn this thing on and I go through all the features, because that's going to take a little while, let me just take off the pommel here. You hear how clean the threading is? There's no resistance. Well, I mean, there's resistance just enough to let you know it's a kind of a tactile thing, that this is not going to fly off on you. Very, very well done. A lot of companies can't seem to get that right. All right, so here's the inside of the grip section. You can see the venting of the pommel. If I get it just so, I can't really tell because I can't see what I'm doing. And so here's your chassis. So you can see you got your soundboard here. You got your speaker. It's not a bad speaker. It's not the greatest in the world, but it does its job. And your SaberSource lithium-ion 18650 battery. And that's all secured in here with these little screws right here. And actually, I think this screw is probably the one that secures it in place. This thing probably goes all the way up to about there where the LEDs terminate. It's all just kind of like one unit. If you go back and watch my my review of my Darth Maul, my Maul saber. The chassis is very similar to that, so you can see what that looks like. Because I'm not going to remove this one. This one's staying put. So right now the saber's in deep sleep mode, and it plays music. And there's actually 5 whole pieces of music on here. They're a little bit truncated because, you know, you can't play the whole thing, but it's quite a long piece of music. There's 5 of them, and what essentially they are is you'll find that they have the music from the trailers. The 3 trailers for Rise of Skywalker are on here, which is really cool because they're not on the soundtrack, which I own. And it's kind of nice to have access to that, even if the sound quality isn't that great, just to relive because regardless of how you feel about the Rise of Skywalker, the trailers were really, really enticing. The music was good. So, yeah. So anyway, when I turn this on, the music's kind of playing. I'm just gonna bypass that because I don't want to get copyright striked. So you're not gonna hear all the music, but you'll hear some of it. So to turn it on, you just hold this. And you can bypass that by just hitting the button to turn it on. To turn it off, you have to hold it for 3 seconds. It's not really 3 seconds. It's more like 3 pulses. And the pulses go quick. If there's one thing about this particular soundboard, it's far more responsive than the other one as far as... they figured out that you didn't... Because this pulses to click off the seconds. So they actually kind of speeded that up so you're not waiting around to turn the saber on and off or put into deep sleep mode or anything like that. But right now the saber is awake for 1 pulse. Whoops. I'm sorry. Slow down, kid. All right, 1 pulse. I'll get there. For some reason, I'm not seeing it. There we go. So that controls the volume. Right now, it's on softest sound. Three pulses turns the blade off.
No sound.
So now it's muted. Oh, come on now. Why are you not turning off? There we go.
Dark sound.
And there you go. So those are your 3 different volume settings. Oh, I changed the font. All right, so 2 pulses
Stable.
controls the blade. So as you're unstable, that font's kind of flipping out, and I don't know why.
Stable.
Stable. And I usually leave it
Pulse.
on pulse, so you give a bit of a flicker. Now the flicker on this one, on the soundboard with the 9 fonts, it's a little bit more subtle. You notice that when you start swinging the saber around, it really kind of messes with your eyes a little bit because it's more of a strobe. So anybody with issues with seizures or what might anybody that has issues with seizures, you know, the saber may cause you issues because both the unstable and the pulse, they really kind of mess with your eyes a little bit. So I'd be very cautious of that. Let's see. As far as playing the music, that is 3 pulses. And to kind of cycle through the music, you just keep doing 3 pulses. And back to the beginning. And then you just turn the saber on or whatever to get that to turn off. Now, as far as changing the sound fonts, it's 4 pulses.
You have something I want.
Grand Moff Gideon.
Cal Kestis.
He said what he is.
The force is with you, young Skywalker. You're not Jedi yet.
I take this to be a Luke font.
I've been waiting for this day for a long time.
Kylo. I'm not sure what she says, but I think this is kind of a Rey font. Now, when you have the blade on, and I'll go through all the fonts before I get into the functions with the blade on. You can hit the button once, you get your blaster block.
This mission is everything we cannot fail.
But with the second press, you get a little voice. In this case, you hear Leia. 1 pulse.
This mission is everything we cannot fail.
It's not my favorite feature. It's kind of if you want to do multiple blaster blocks. It's a little bit weird. To go into Lockup, you just hold this twice. Or 2 pulses. Actually, no, that's wrong. Sorry. I'll show you what 2 pulses does in a minute. Let's see. For Lockup, I forget. Oh, okay, so it's just holding at 1 pulse. And then you just hit the button to disengage it. Now, for color changing, this is where the 2 pulses comes in. No longer do you have to hold it for 2 seconds and then release it. You just, and then hold it to get the color changing. You basically just hit this for 2 pulses. And it just starts cycling hands-free through all the colors. Until you find what you want. Then when you get to the color that you like, which I don't know what I want. Yeah, we'll just stick with blue. So you just hit the button and that locks the color in. And you're good to go. So this is one of the new fonts, so I'm just going to do a little bit of, you've heard the swings. Let's do some clashes. Okay, let's do the next font.
Hey, Skywalker.
So this is a Rey Skywalker sound font. I know that if Sidious were around, I'm hoping that Sidious is just on hiatus. I know that everyone's kind of concerned about him, but if anybody knows Sidious, he does not acknowledge that Rey is a Skywalker. To him, Rey is strictly a Palpatine, and yeah, if you've been in that discussion with him, don't argue with him on that point. So, I kind of like this font. It's very subtle. It's a little bit more responsive than the last one.
That lightsaber was Luke's.
We've all heard that one before.
Ben Solo.
Ben Solo. This thing's loaded up with Ray fonts. But in this instance, it sounds more like Kylo Ren, so it's a little bit weird. But that sounded like Vader. This font confuses me. Definitely sounds dark side. I'm always hitting the button when I swing this thing around. So that was a little bit confusing. Like I said, it has the cue for the Rey theme. Sounds like the Kylo Ren font, but then it has Vader's breathing on it. So it's kind of a mixed bag there.
You have something I want.
And then back to this one. So I think I'm going to go
I'm Cal Kestis.
all the way to
The first is when you know.
that second Rey font.
I've been waiting for this day for a long time.
Hey, Skywalker.
Yeah, this is the one that I tend to like. Anyway. So, as far as putting this into deep sleep, you can either, plug it in and start charging it. The wonderful thing about the saber is when it's charging, this will actually pulse, indicating that it's in charging mode. But when it's done charging, it'll actually say ready. You'll just hear it say ready. Or you can notice that this will no longer be illuminated, which means the saber is fully charged. But when you plug it in, it says charging. So this one actually gives you nice voice cues and lets you know what's going on. The other way to put it into deep sleep mode, that way just plugging it in to turn it off, that's not the preferred way to do it. I don't know if that would be harmful to the soundboard. What I would recommend is when the saber's on, if you just kind of hold the button, let it turn off, continue to hold the button. There's no music to indicate that the saber's turned off, but if you look at my finger, you can see that the light just kind of turned off on itself, indicating that the saber's in deep sleep mode. That took a while, so I apologize for that, and I fumbled a bit. I mean, there's a lot of nuance to this particular soundboard. But I like it. The only drawback to me, I don't like the voice cues when you're trying to do blaster blocks. I mean, a lot of people, they want to be able to emulate actually doing blaster blocks. With the voice cue, it kind of throws that off. But all things considered, it's something that you can definitely live with. In lieu of all the other features that you have in the variety. I mean, with the color changing and 9 different sound fonts and the volume control and the ability to change the blade effects and just, I mean, you can really go through and kind of customize, as much as you want. Now, obviously you can't apply the blade and the color effects to the individual sound fonts. Those carry over from one sound font to the next. Whatever you have the blade and the blade profile set to, whatever sound font that you choose, it's going to have those already selected. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. It doesn't remember that. But when you recharge the saber and when you wake it up, it will have remembered, whatever you have it set to. If for whatever reason you have to remove the battery and cut the power supply, that's going to set everything to defaults and you'll have to go in and kind of reset everything. But I don't see a need to do that. Not with a recharge port, built into this thing. Whew. So anyway, let me I try not to do long videos like this, but sometimes it's just needed. So I'm just going to give you guys a bit of a visual tour, and then I will let you go. Yeah, you've been here for a while. You've been very patient. Hopefully you've been enjoying this and finding it informative. Let's look at these little, it almost looks like there's washers in there. Now, a lot of people don't like this. Kind of drives a lot of people nuts. This doesn't bother me. I don't know why. It just doesn't. So, rating out of 5, I give it a 5. Mostly because, you know, the customer service was there. I received what I ordered. The quality is there. I mean, once you accept limitations of the package, I mean, this isn't going to be a Corbath Graflex. If you expect that for $100, then, you know, you're kind of barking up the wrong tree. This is a budget option for people that just don't have the cash to spend you know, $600 or $700 on a saber. For $100, you get a saber that's fully loaded with features, is customized. You have choices between soundboards. I mean, what more can you ask? And as far as the blade goes, I had a blade from one of my LGT sabers. This came from my Leia, my version 1 or whatever it's called, which I wasn't using. So you have to supply your own blade. I'm not sure what kind of blades they supply. I imagine it's probably very similar to this, which is why I installed this. It has a nice little, you know, parabolic tip that matches the color of the blade, more or less, with a diffusing film. They actually use little tabs, or whatever you want to call little pins, to hold the tip on so it won't fly off on you. And it illuminates pretty consistently. I'm not exactly sure what the wattage of the LED is. It's possibly like a 9-watt LED amp. Not 100% certain. Anyway, so yeah, that's my my build-a-saber from Vire Sabers, and I love this saber. It was definitely a good choice. So, if you have any questions, you know, please load me up in the comments. I'll do my best to answer your questions, and I'll put a link to Vire Sabers website. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed this review, and if you could share this video, that would help my channel. I'm trying to grow it, and I need more subscribers. So, please subscribe, like or dislike, whatever your pleasure is. And yeah, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the weekend. May the force be with you, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye.